This Shabbat we are told a commandment that is so beautiful. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. We should love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Rabbi Akiva says this is a general rule of the entire Torah. Hillel the elder, when asked by a convert to teach him the entire Torah in one moment, answered that this is the mitzvah. What is hateful to you, do not do to somebody else. And the rest of the Torah is an explanation, is an extension of this one central commandment. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And it's obviously very difficult to understand how the mitzvah, the beautiful commandment of loving our friend, our neighbor as ourselves, can be a summary of the entire Torah. Sure, it can explain why commandments that are interpersonal, making sure that we don't hurt somebody else's feelings, that we take care of one another, that we look after the widow and the orphan and the employee, and all the interpersonal relationships could be summed up by saying, love your neighbor as you love yourself. But how can it be a summary for those commandments of the Torah that are rituals, but that are commandments between ourselves and God, to put on Tefillin, to keep Shabbos, to keep kosher? How can keeping kosher be summarized into the words of love your neighbor as yourself? It seems to have no correlation whatsoever. But in order to explain that, the Alter Rebbe in the 32nd chapter of Tanya explains this commandment of loving our neighbor as ourselves. It's not hyperbole, it's not a poetic, beautiful way of saying care for one another. To love someone as yourself, not only the person you've never ever met in the world, how would you love that person as you love yourself? But even the person you have met and you actually have bad experiences with, love them as yourself. How can it be expected of a human being to love someone else as we love ourselves? And the Alter Rebbe explains that the only way one can begin to explain what it means to love somebody else as oneself is to go through a process of looking at that other person with different eyes, not seeing the person for the external, not seeing the person for the color of their skin and for their talents and abilities and all of the external things that might be important, but don't define the individual. We have to search much deeper. We have to look at that other person and see them for their soul. It's only if we identify with the next individual as an expression of Hashem, a soul that was placed there by God, a child of Hashem, and we strip away all the veneers, all the externals, all the experiences of life that can so often divide and can challenge and make people our competitors. When we see a person for their soul, we have a different grasp, a different understanding of who they are. And likewise, when we look at ourselves and we look in the mirror and we strip away all the veneers, it's not how I look and not how brilliant and smart and talented, all the external abilities as important as they are. I too am a soul of Hashem. I'm a child of God. At that point, we recognize that the you and the me is actually one heartbeat, one soul of God. We are all an extension of godliness. And it's only by virtue of going through that process that we strip away the external, that we can hope to begin to love somebody whom we've never met, or somebody whom we've met and have had a bad experience with, to look past it and to see the essence. And that's a summary of the entire Torah. Was to be able to master that expression of love, that we love someone else as ourselves, which means that we have mastered the ability to see the soul. That is what Torah is about in every single mitzvah. It means understanding the depth of this world, seeing things for how they were created by Hashem, their purpose and their meaning. All of life, all of Torah is to discover soul. If we're able to discover soul in our recognition of love for somebody else, then we have mastered not only the interpersonal relationships of Torah, that is Torah, the laws of Kashrut, the laws of Shabbat, everything about Torah is to try and seek and find the essence and the attachment to Hashem. May we love Hashem, may we love Israel, may we love each and every one of Hashem's children and care for them and see them for what they really are, a soul and a spirit of God that has every reason to be loved. Have a beautiful Shabbos.